point where I actually almost lost my life in the desert, there was no evacuation plan. I didn't believe I could survive long enough for my local agent to pick me up and get me out. It was do or die at that point. And this was, so to paint a picture of that particular Mongolia trip, it was a 1,500 mile journey. 3 weeks of that would be in the Altai Mountains. 5 weeks of that would be in the Gobi Desert. And a further 3 weeks would be in the Mongolian steppe. Solo and unsupported.
What's the Mongolian steppe?
The Mongolian steppe is like rolling hills and fields of grassland.
Okay.
And because it was solo and unsupported, I couldn't just take a rucksack. I would need to carry a large amounts of water across the Gobi Desert because there's confirmed and there's unconfirmed water sources in the form of either local communities or mainly wells. So that meant I had to pull a trailer behind me, and that trailer weighed 18 stone, 120 kilograms or 260 pounds.
And what do you weigh? About 65?
I weigh about 65, 70 kilograms.
Yeah, okay, so 10, 11 stone?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, not quite 2 times your body weight, but, you know.
Yeah, probably almost 2 times my body weight when I was in the desert, and I lost maybe 10 kilograms.
Oh, wow, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. And so that trailer carried everything that I needed to survive. That was my life capsule. It had weeks worth of ration packs, months worth of ration packs. It had water container on its own was 20 litres, which is 20 kilograms already. On an empty
Over 3
load.
stone.
Yeah, and because I couldn't find or partner with a factory to make a carbon fibre sort of factory built trailer, I contacted a family friend, Paul McDonald, and he built a mild steel trailer in his backyard.
Cheers, Paul. Well done, Paul.
Which on an empty load, it's already 40 kilograms. It's mild steel, but that meant it was going to be robust. Because if that trailer broke on me, I would be screwed. And when I was in the desert, to speak about sort of no option of evacuation, I think the Altai Mountains was so cold, maybe about minus 15 at times, that I didn't really feel the need to drink water. And then when I broke out into the desert, I was probably already slightly dehydrated. And by the middle of the desert, because it was a 5-week crossing of the Gobi, I started to face severe dehydration. But I now at this point had to ration my water because there were confirmed and unconfirmed water sources. And if I was to rock up to an unconfirmed water source, I need to make sure I've got enough to last me to that next confirmed water source. But that's easier said than done. It's 40 plus degrees Celsius. There's no shade. There's no clouds going by. There's no trees. There's no breeze. The wheels are now sinking in what is often gravel, but a mix of soft sand. So it's feeling more like 500 kilograms. I'm skinnier. I'm weaker because I've just climbed over the Altai Mountains, over 3,000 meters. And my only shelter or shade that I could find was underneath my trailer. And even the ground, the floor was hot, melting. And the weeks went by, I started to slip severely into heat stroke, which is usually fatal. I could almost feel my organs drying up inside.
I've heard you say that. Explain what that means. Explain what you mean by that.
I could almost feel, you know, like when you're really dehydrated and you feel it in your mouth, in your throat. It was almost so dehydrated that I could feel it on my insides. I was desperate. Oh,
your inside is drying up.
I could almost feel that they weren't functioning.
Yeah.
And I'm very in tune with my body. You know, I could feel that there was just and I knew there wasn't something right, but to feel that was you know, horrendous. And at this point I was sort of hallucinating. I was delirious.
And just to remind everyone listening to this, you're by yourself.
Yeah.
You're by yourself. And I've just, super quick like tangent, I've just done Celebrity SAS Who Dares Wins.
Yeah.
And I don't know when this is going to air, so I can't talk too much about it. But I was on my own for 3.5 hours doing this task, and really physically draining, demanding task for 3.5 hours. And when you've got nobody to say, well done, keep going, almost there, well done, a pat on the back, it's hard, man. It's really hard. And you've got nobody not just from miles away or hours away, days away. Goodness. Yeah. You don't seem like a masochist. You don't seem like you seem so normal.
Yeah.
So when you're in that moment, what's pushing you to keep going? I
think a few different things, but I do remember I was under that trailer for a good hour at times. And I just knew I can't do that. I can't.
Resting or seeking refuge?
Yeah, just hiding away from that sun. It was burning. And I just felt like I was just red. I felt blistered up. I was in a very bad state. And I had to ration this. So as much as I really needed to drink, I had to ration the last remaining dribbles of water. And this was now hot water. Not that it mattered, but it's now hot water that I had to ration.
But when again, I've done another TV show where like I did a Bear Grylls TV show, The Island, a few years ago, and like we had to drink water. We had to go and find a water source and filter the water and stuff. And when people think, water, people just think cold. But when you're so thirsty, like so unbelievably thirsty, and you pour warm water in your mouth, it just doesn't hit. That's it. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. And I really had to manage that last remaining dribbles of water. And when I was under my trailer, that's when it hit. I kind of realized, I calculated how many times I've stopped compared to the distance that I'm covering. I then worked out my evacuation plan should I need it, and I realised I was past the point of pickup, because at that point I understood that I don't think I can survive 6 days. And that was the scary thing. If I didn't keep getting up from out of the trail and pushing on, I could quite possibly die out here in the Gobi Desert. And it was almost like that internal scream. And that took a while, because a lot of the time I just was feeling sorry for myself. I was thinking about my family, about my friends. I was thinking where I fucked up here. What could I have done differently? And then
there's a continuous internal battle.
Yeah.
There's conflict in your head.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. And then it was at that point I realised that I only have one option. That shook me. I think probably it hit that real internal survival instinct. I think that we all have in the face of death. And it was that, holy shit, I can't be sitting here feeling sorry for myself, thinking about my family and friends. If there's only one option, I must try my best to execute that only option that I have. And I did. I couldn't, at this point, I had 4 days to the next water source, and it was a community. I could rest up there. I couldn't visualize. I'm a big believer in the law of attraction, visualization. 4 days was hell. That may as well have been 4 weeks to me in that current state that I was at. But I could visualize 100 meters. I could see 100 meters. And I remember being in my back garden when I was 15, 16, planning my travels and speaking to my dad and saying, how on earth am I going to raise the money? You know, get the right vaccines, get the right visas, plan, this to plan for my travels. How am I going to do this? And my dad sat down with me in my back garden and created that first ever spider diagram for me. And said, you need to focus on this first. You need to focus on selling your car, get yourself a bicycle. That will stop you from spending this much on tax, MOT and fuel. You'll save that much and you can put it towards this, which will be the visas or the flight you need to. And he pretty much broke down this mind map. And little did he realize, fast forward a certain amount of years later, that would potentially, it went on to save my life. I focused on 100 meters. I could see 100 meters. And don't spend an hour under my trailer, 5 minutes. And by doing that, I focused on 5 minutes. I'd get up, I'd strap the 4-point harness, the trailer. I would walk. I could only cover 100 meters, 200 meters if I was lucky, max, before all the lactic acid build-up, before the sun would be too much. I'd have to hide, but I would hide for 5 minutes. And I did that for 4 days in the Gobi Desert until I eventually made it to that community. I collapsed. I was in a bad way. It took me a good 8 days to recover. My urine was pretty much black. It was... frightening experience, but I had made it past the worst part, the part where the previous guy evacuated.